tell you first. That's her.
Patty's all by her lonesome over there.
Oh, he's not with her. He was just with Samaritan.
Do you need help finding the chair? Pardon? Do you need help finding the chair?
I do, but I'm here.
I want to play that puppers.
Okay, I can help you with that.
And you are?
I'm just a mom. I'm Sue.
Oh, you're a mom?
Yes.
Somebody's mom, huh?
She doesn't have to sign in until
Oh, she
public
doesn't
comment.
have to sign it. Okay, I'm sorry.
Until we open for public comment. It's okay.
Today? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So I've got a chair here for you. Okay, thank you. And I don't need to sign in? Not right now, you'll be fine. I'll take care of you. So here's the chair right here.
You're not allowed to.
Yeah. He's working.
He's working, I know.
All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Everybody ready? Okay. All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Secretary, call the roll.
Chilada.
Here.
Lloyd. Casper.
Here.
Dunlop.
Here.
Lloyd. Here. Barry.
Here.
Nenza.
Here. 3.1, ILMEA, student recognition.
So it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Freeland, who's going to share some exciting news with the board. And Ms. McBride.
Good evening, Dr. Staywick, Administration, Board of Education. We'd like to thank you for giving us this opportunity to recognize these very talented CMS students. Illinois Music Education Association is a statewide organization that provides outstanding opportunities for music students. Students who will be recognized this evening have prepared specific scales and music etudes that have been sent out to judging along with hundreds of students throughout our surrounding area. These students have been chosen to represent our school community through this rigorous audition process. On Saturday, November 5th, the students met at Lincoln Way Central High School as part of an honors band and rehearsed throughout the day and performed a public concert. We couldn't be more proud of these students for their hard work and their musical drive to strive to be the very best at their craft. Students, as I call your name, please come on up to be recognized for your accomplishments.
We're all sucking it in, right?
Marnie Heminger, Ran Jabber, Ashley Canjo, Zach LaChance, sorry, yes. Liz Lopez, DJ McCarthy, Joel Ricard, Elliot Reese, and Iowa Moody.
You won't be.
Huh? I don't know, you never know.
All right, everyone on three. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1,
Thank you all so much.
Now you have to look at your parents.
I'm gonna need a little air guitar.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone's welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you have other plans for this evening and you need to exit, now's a good time for that. Everybody always takes me up.
Off you go.
Let me know when you have time.
I've got to go watch some paint dry.
Right?
Timing for that.
I got to go watch some paint dry.
Okay, 4.1, Superintendent's Report.
Yes, thank you. First, I'd like to throw it to Vern, who has a very special announcement.
Yeah. So the Demon family would like to do a book donation, and that's the family I married into. So there are 5 copies of these around the area, around the board area. So my mother-in-law wrote a book called Darren the Different Dragon, and on the inside, as a book label. So in memory of their mother and in appreciation of the District 146 Board of Education, Administration, and staff, the family of Dr. Josephine Demon, PhD, educator and children's author, would like to dedicate her children's book, Dare the Different Dragon, to the children of District 146, and presented this day by me. So in her very rich life, she was a professional actress, did Shakespeare at the Shakespeare Theater in Atlanta, so pretty big time there, much like our Chicago Shakespeare Theater. She was a high school English teacher and did theater teacher in high school. And then in her later career, she moved across the state of Georgia and then taught for the Talented and Gifted program for many years. When she retired, she wanted to keep teaching, so she did adjunct professor work teaching English at a community college, formed a new community theater in her area, and also became a playwright and wrote some plays for them and directed those. So she was quite active throughout her retirement, and lived to be 93 years old. And so we wanted as a family to share a little part of her with the district, and so each library will get a copy of this, and I'll take those around tomorrow.
That's very cool.
So-
Thank you so much.
Lovely tribute, Vern.
Thanks.
Yeah, a student came in.
Did they turn back around? Are they still here? Are you here for the ILMEA presentation? Come on up, come on up. What's your name? Hey, great. Yay. Everybody go around, I'll get a picture with you. It's all good, don't worry.
Multitasking.
We're all gonna say congratulations. Thanks so much for coming. These are yours, and we're gonna take a picture. But I'm not standing behind you. There we go.
One, two, three, one more, one, two,
Yeah, I think he's going to make the basketball.
I think Kelly's next.
That's perfect, absolutely perfect, no.
Next topic for the superintendent's report. I'm pleased, delighted, proud to celebrate our adult ESL classes. We've got a cooperative arrangement with Governor State University that offers 3 levels of English for adults in our community, whether they have children in our schools or not, at no charge to them. Those classes are happening virtually, run by Governor State, and all District 146 residents are eligible for it. The first session is underway right now, began October 6th, runs through December 15th, and we're going to have a spring session that begins February 6th and runs through April 25th. The first event was an in-person event at Central in the Media Center. This was to give an opportunity for participants to come together and see each other in person and get to know each other and start building a community of learners. And it was very well attended, and we served refreshments and had some games and activities, and everybody was delighted. Some of the, in my 12 years here, I've seen countless success stories from our adult ed program. If you ever need a lift and want to see an example of good that's happening in our world, I'd encourage you to come out and attend one of these. These, of course, are virtual, but the many ideations of this I've seen in the past have been in person, and they're a bit better attended when they're virtual, but they're super special when they're in person, so we like offering both. And the testimonies that we've heard from people that have completed the class about what that's done for their ability to connect with their child and their school, and also succeed in our society, is just heartwarming. It's just one of the many wonderful things that we do. So hats off to Kelly and Brooke and your staff and the family support specialists that make this happen. Outstanding. This is the time of year where we celebrate a number of different holidays. And as a service to the community, we've put together a community celebrations webpage that's created just to explain the many holidays that exist around the calendar. This time of year, we're highlighting Hanukkah, Christmas, and Kwanzaa. And there's also a place on that website for community members to make us aware of a holiday perhaps in their culture that we're not aware of. And then we research that and add it to the event. So that's kind of like a one-stop place for folks who are curious about other cultures' holidays to shop, which I think is a nice touch to our community section of our webpage. And it's also the time of year where our schools come together to do outstanding things for others. I'm sure you've been inundated with all of the emails and notices from our schools and from the Ad Center. We've been organizing and collecting food, coats, winter garments, and hats and gloves and mittens, and toys for students for children that are in need. Central hosted the coat drive. FIRC hosted a food drive and fundraiser for the Scudella family, which you're aware. Fulton hosted a food drive. A cruise had a food and toy drive, and Memorial had a successful pajama donation campaign. And the Ad Center, as usual, we've been supporting our adopted charity, Together We Cope, their Santa's Workshop project. And they've had some hardship lately at the Together We Cope's facility. Go ahead, Kel.
Oh, we were going to do something now, but we didn't want to take away from what the buildings were doing, but, because of the hardship that they've had with the fire, after the holiday, we're going to do like a gently used clothing drive throughout the district and all of the buildings. I know a lot of us clean out closets over break and make our kids get rid of things they're not using very often, so we're gonna be collecting those things and then in turn, giving that to Together We Cope, so that our community can have access to those items.
If you're not personally familiar with Together We Cope and you'd like to learn more, I'd be happy to contact them and take you over there. The first time I went through there, I was just overwhelmed by, they are professional do-gooders. They have a system, they all work hard. It is their business to help people in need, and they are phenomenal at it. So when you see folks like that struggle a little bit with just this unfortunate circumstance, your heart just goes out to them, and that just made us double our efforts to support their program, and it's really outstanding. So 'tis the season, and they're doing the hard work every day, year-round. Next, I'd like to announce that our kindergarten registration and screening planning has begun. Registration will open January 17th, and the screening is scheduled for April 26th. I like to say that at a board meeting and get it out in the community as one of our Child Find efforts for kindergarten. But those are our kindergarten screenings, and our preschool screenings are my favorite days because the place is just full of kids. So you can begin registering your kindergartner on January 17th, and screening will take place on April 26th. So we look forward to seeing you then and start making you aware of our school community and welcoming you to the 146 family. Now I'd like to throw it to Wendy for update on our professional learning community effort.
Well, thank you, Dr. Stawick. As you may recall, last spring I shared some district goals, and one of them was to continue enhancing our professional learning communities. And just very recently, the state has given us some additional money to use for professional development. So we are really excited. We've been able to secure professional learning community expert coaches to come work with our leadership team as well as our teachers. So they'll be working, we're helping our principals identify the needs and supports that take those professional learning communities to the next level. And then in March and May, they're going to come in during our teacher collaborative team time and do some coaching right within that time, working with just giving feedback, some training, and just other supports that may be needed. And then we'll regroup in June, where the expert will come back and we're going to talk about our next steps and what we're going to do to continue sustaining high-functioning professional learning communities. So I'm really excited about this opportunity and really looking forward to working with our coaches. So
Wonderful. Wendy,
Thank you.
thanks for arranging that. Update on our HVAC projects. The 6 rooftop units at Central are installed, tuned, and working as designed without issue. We still haven't received that last central chiller. Our new anticipated delivery date is January 6th. So around January 3rd, I'll tell you that we're still not getting it. Lots of vendors having supply problems, as you know, that's a worldwide issue. However, our Fierick and Cruz HVAC projects that were approved for this coming summer are underway. They're having project meetings bi-weekly with Precision Control. They're keeping an eye on equipment delivery. We're expected to receive all the necessary parts by the end of April so that we can hit the ground running when school lets out. The district is responsible if there's any asbestos abatement required, so we're going to have our environmental folks take a look to see if there's any of that, and we'll let you know. And finally, Jay Money's going to give us a dental insurance provider update.
Yes, just a quick update. So our health insurance is run through a big purchasing cooperative called EBC. It's about 100 school districts. But our dental insurance, from the time I've been here, has always been independent. We just do it on our own. And so recently, in discussions with HR, we've thought about seeing if we could bring it all under the EBC co-op umbrella, just for ease of administration and also possibly to save money. So we want to get a quote from them. They would essentially match our exact plan. The question is just how much it would cost. But in order for them to do that, we have to name Gallagher Benefit Systems as the broker of record. We have no broker right now. We just do everything on our own. But Gallagher runs the EBC co-op, so in order to get a dental quote, we have to name Gallagher as our broker. So we're planning on doing that, and it's essentially just kicking the tires to see if we can do better than what we're doing now, and if not, we'll keep things the way they are.
Thanks, Jeff. 2 condolences this month. Elam Sharif's mother passed away. Elam's a family support specialist at Cruz. And Lauren O'Donnell's sister, Tracy Albertson, passed away. Lauren is district physical therapist. So our hearts go out to these families, and we extend our deepest condolences. And that's all I have for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. 5.1, we're going to move to public comment. Citizens may address the board at this time. I'd just like to remind the citizens that this is a time for you to share your thoughts with the board. There is no back and forth dialogue, and each person is limited to 3 minutes.
You can stay here if you prefer. It's a small group, if you'd like to be. I like to move closer, so I can move out. Very good. Okay. There's a podium right in front of you.
Hi,
Hi there.
I got papers and my business cards here. Can I pass them out?
I'll take them for you. I'll make sure everybody gets
Yeah.
them. Thank you.
There's 10 copies of the flyer.
Thank you.
Well, good evening. My partner in crime and I made it. So, she's really cute, but you still can't play with her, okay?
Okay.
She's working. So, my name is Kim Liddell, and I work for Progress Center for Independent Living. We serve the suburban Cook County. And so I brought a 2-page fact sheet just to give you, a real quick, idea of exactly who we are and what we do. So, Progress Center is mostly employed of people with disabilities, and the board members are also comprised of mostly people with disabilities. So we have a stakeholder's interest in seeing young people and adults with disabilities to be, independent as much as possible and successful. And of course, we all want inclusion and equality in the community. So I wanted to let you know that I've been working with youth that have an IEP or 504, and in some cases, a doctor that gives a medical note stating some kind of limitation. And so we've been having a lot of fun working on different areas to help them to be more successful as adults. So it's all about transitioning from middle school, high school, and then into college and into adult life. In some cases, it is helping kids to find customized employment. Maybe college is not the right option, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm here to offer, services to work with youth, and it's absolutely free. Our funding come from ORS. If you're not familiar, that's Office of Rehabilitation Services, formerly known as DRS, Division of Rehab Services, or DOORS. Those are old acronyms. So we get our fundings from them, and so the services that we provide to the youth, in a form of mentorship, is free. And then another thing that was successful for our agency and other agencies that we serve across the
30
state
seconds.
of Illinois, we're very excited to find out now that we no longer need Social Security numbers. Parents really, struggle with that, having to give up a Social Security number. And that was the DRS office wanting that. So we finally got them to come around to agreeing that they, Social Security numbers are not required. And there was one thing I wanted to point out that I did not put on the flyer. For the past 5 years, except for the 2 years during the pandemic, I've been holding workshops in Blue Island, my satellite office that I work in, week-long summer workshops for kids with IEP and 504, and we have a whole lot of fun, with education thrown in. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I hope that somebody can reach out to me,
Hi, my name is Susie Malinowski. I am PTO president next door at Fulton. I've had a kid at that school since it was built, so longtime district member. My oldest is a freshman in college now, and she started at kindergarten with Miss Jamrisco years ago. I'm here today with my daughter Chloe to address the issue of the reading and math interventionist program that's supposed to be losing its funding that we were told was funded through COVID funds. I'm sorry, I keep repeating myself, for the last 2 years. And I just want to express concern that someone like her who got sent home in 2nd grade to go virtually, and that's when she was supposed to learn how to read really, fluently, and she's fallen behind, and it's really helped her to see the interventionist at Fulton. Do you go every day, Chloe? Every day. So during reading class, in her 5th grade class, she gets pulled out with a few other students. Last year, she also saw the math interventionist, and she graduated out of that. So would you like to come say something? And I also just would like to show concern that also she is going to Central next year, and she doesn't qualify for an IEP, but I would like the board to consider to have some sort of services for kids that, are not quite where they need to be, but they don't need an education plan set up for them. So I just didn't know if that could be something the board could discuss in terms of making sure that we can keep interventionists in the schools going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I need to sign this?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm just going to kind of piggyback on what Susie said. My name is Corey Wirtz, and I have a 4th grader at Fulton, also a member of the PTO. I have a son that's a junior at Tinley Park High School that had attended Fulton also. The issue that has been made aware recently about the funding for the reading and math interventionist positions within our district is expiring at the end of the school year. This is a great concern to me because I believe that these teachers are making a huge difference in our schools and helping an extremely large group of students that have been affected, COVID and even pre-COVID. The interventionist programs within our district are vital in helping students close the gaps within their learning. Many other districts have started this program even before COVID, and unfortunately, COVID has exacerbated a problem that already existed in our schools, and it just kind of was brought to the forefront. We need to keep this program in District 146 because we still have many students that are falling behind academically due to the pandemic and before. Unfortunately, the effects of COVID are not over within our students, and they need more support now than ever to overcome this setback. I hope you'll consider making the interventionist program a permanent solution to closing the gaps for those students still in need of extra reading and math support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional public comment? Seeing none. Moving on, 6.1, union report.
Karen Lyons from the ESP Union. Just want to say that we're very happy to see many new pairs have been hired to the district. Yay. We're looking forward to 13 days. We're counting down 13 days to Christmas, and then 7 school days to Christmas break, till holiday break. As Dr. Staywick said, that the different schools, we have been collecting for different things, such as pajamas and food, coats and such. So the pouring of people just donating has been phenomenal. Again, I am dressed for plaid today. Are doing their different spirit days, and it's going to be fun for the next 7 days.
Thank you. Thanks, Karen.
I love that Karen has
Thanks,
to
Karen.
explain her attire every
Every time, right? Pajama, every month.
Interesting place.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Okay, moving on, 7.1, financial audit report.
Yes, I would like to introduce Mr. Kevin Bissell from our auditing firm, and he is going to go over the district audit, and you should all have a copy of the audit book, and he's been instructed for briefness.
Thanks, Jeff. Yes, my name is Kevin Bissell. I'm here to present the audit for the year ended June 30th, 2022. I'm going to start on pages 1 through 7, Roman numeral 1 through 7 of the statements, which is the letter of transmittal. And just to point out that this is some good information for your review. This is prepared by management. and gives a really good overview, general overview of the district. So again, some good information for your review, and wanted to point out where that was in the statements. The next item, pages 10 and 11, room numeral 10 and 11. These are the certificates of excellence in financial reporting. There's one from the Association of School Business Officials and one from the Government Finance Officers Association. So these are for the year ended June 30th, 2021, and these awards are good for 1 year, and the current statements will be submitted for review as well. So I wanted to make sure to mention that the district had been awarded these certificates again this year, and it's a very nice accomplishment for the district. So wanted to point out where those were. Pages Roman numeral 12 through 15 is the independent auditor's report, and that's really our addition to these financial statements. This report is arranged a little bit differently than you might have seen in prior years. It starts out by saying that we have audited the financial statements of the district as of June 30th, 2022. It then reflects our opinion. And in our opinion, the financial statements of the district are presented fairly in all material respects at June 30th, 2022 in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. The letter goes on to talk about responsibilities of both management and the auditor. As far as management's responsibilities, management is responsible for the preparation and the fair presentation of the statements in accordance with U.S. generally accepted accounting principles. This includes the design and the implementation of internal controls related to the preparation and presentation of the statements that are free from material misstatement. As far as our responsibility as auditors, our objective is to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the statements are free from material misstatement. And we conducted our audit in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards and government auditing standards. And as such, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We identify and assess the risks of material misstatement of the statements. We obtain an understanding of relevant controls to allow us to design appropriate audit procedures, but not to express an opinion on the effectiveness of those controls. We also evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies and estimates, as well as the overall presentation of the statements. I'm going to go ahead and move on now to the management discussion and analysis on page Roman numeral 16, which is where it begins. This document is unaudited, but it's a really good summary of the year and some good information for your review. It explains some of the important information in the financial statements that follow, and some of the highlights for the year. Assets and deferred outflows of the district exceeded liabilities and deferred inflows by $45.8 million at year end. Net position increased about $3 million during the year. And on the fund level, which is where the district operates day to day, governmental funds reported combined fund balance of $40.4 million at year end. This was up from last year by about $1.8 million. $32.3 million is unrestricted and available in the general fund for the continuing operations of the district at June 30th. Page Roman numeral 19 gives a summary of the assets, liabilities, and deferred amounts of the district for the current and the prior year. As we can see there, total assets are up about 3.5% from the year before. Liabilities are down about $3.4 million this year. And as stated earlier, the net position of the district is up about $3 million. Page Roman numeral 20 shows a table with some of the details about that increase in net position. Operating grants and contributions are showing a decrease this year. Now, most of this decreased revenue is pass-through revenue from the state for its share of the pension costs. And the district really doesn't have control of this amount. Expenses were down from last year as well. Most related to the decreased pass-through revenue from the state. The expenses of the district are primarily instructional expenses, and these expenses account for about 67% of the district's expenses for the year. Page Roman numeral 21 begins the discussion of the fund balances of the district at year end. As I mentioned, the district has $40.4 million at year end, and again, an increase of about $1.8 million from prior year. The district had $2 million of restricted fund balance and $7 million of fund balance assigned for certain purposes. At June 30th, the assigned balance of the general fund was $30.8 million. The general fund is the primary operating fund of the district, and the unassigned fund balance can be used for the ongoing operations of the district. Page 20 discusses some differences in the general fund between actual amounts and what was budgeted. Excluding the on-behalf amounts received from the state, actual revenues were $2.1 million more than budgeted. And excluding the on-behalf amounts that I talked about, actual expenditures of the district were about $430,000 less than anticipated for the year. Page 23 discusses the long-term debt of the district. Long-term debt liabilities were about $40.4 million at year end, and again, a decrease of about $3.5 million this year. This is primarily related to a change in the post-employment benefit obligations of the district. Page 23 also has some discussion of what's anticipated for the coming year for the district. Again, is some good information for your review. The statements themselves follow the MD&A, but again, the MD&A really gives a good overview of those statements. Page 13 is where I'd like to go next, and that begins the footnotes to the statements. So the footnotes present some information about the district and the operating policies of the district, and again, it's some good background information about the numbers that you see presented in the statements themselves. Page 25 has some information about the capital assets of the district. It shows that the assets of the district, as well as the related depreciation of those assets that are in use. Page 28 shows a table of the long-term liabilities of the district. Bonds payable and related premiums are about $19.9 million at year end. And this includes a $2.4 million of additional bonds that were incurred during the year. We can see $1.6 million of pension liabilities and about $18.8 million of other post-employment liabilities. Page 30 has some more information about the fund balances of the district. And again, as I mentioned earlier, $40.4 million at year end. $2 million is restricted for certain purposes. $7 million is assigned for certain purposes, primarily the largest one being transportation. And $30.8 million is unassigned and available for continuing operations. The rest of the notes are devoted primarily to the pension and post-employment benefit disclosures of the district. So I will go ahead and move past those, but those are some required information that are presented. Page 52 through 64 provides some more detailed information about the pension and post-employment benefit funding of the district. Shows the one thing I wanted to mention is that all required payments that were required into these plans by the district have been made. So the amounts that you see there are basically generated on a statewide level for the most part, and these are the amounts assigned to the district. The rest of the statements that follow are really more detailed schedules of the information that's already been presented. Has some information and comparisons with both the budget and the prior year. And again, it's some more detailed information for your review. Pages 111 through 137 is the statistical section of the statements. This is a required section when you submit for that certificate that I mentioned early on. Provides some good 10-year trend information about the district, gives some other good information regarding revenues, demographics, and other operating information about the district. And again, it's some good information about how things have progressed over the past 10 years. And the final piece of the statements is the single audit, and this is a required portion of the statements when you have a certain level of expenditures of federal awards, which the district did. So a single audit was required, and this is where that is presented. So this is basically a summary of the statements. We have another letter that we issued in conjunction with this. Before I move to that, were there any questions about the statements themselves?
I don't believe so.
So the other letter that we issue is what we call our conclusion letter, and it's really a summary of how we thought the audit went during the year. So just a couple things I wanted to mention about the audit. Again, management is responsible for the selection and use of appropriate accounting policies. From our standpoint, the financial statements that we discussed are neutral, consistent, and clear in terms of disclosures. We encountered no difficulties in dealing with management while performing our audit. And so, again, just wanted to make sure I mention that again. From our standpoint, the audit went well. Wanted to thank Jeff and his staff for getting us the information in a very timely manner, very organized, and really appreciate all the assistance we were given. Any questions about that, or again, about the statements themselves?
I don't think so. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
8.1, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I move we approve items 8.1, approval of minutes, 8.2, approval of closed session minutes, 8.3, approval of the destruction of closed session tapes, 8.4, approval of financial items, and 8.5, approval of personnel items.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Dunlap,
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes. 8.6, approval of Central Middle School overnight trip.
Yes, as we discussed at Committee of the Whole last week, Central is working hard to provide an overnight trip to Washington DC for middle school, for Central Middle School 8th graders who are interested, and I'm recommending the board approve permission for that trip tonight. It requires board approval since it is an overnight trip.
Is there a motion?
I move the Board of Education approve the CMS overnight trip to Washington DC as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Dunlap,
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes. 8.7, approval of the resolution ratifying the proposed amendments to the SWCCC ASE Articles of Joint Agreement Amendment.
Longest co-op initialism name ever. They are updating our joint agreements, essentially the co-op's bylaws, just to modernize the language. It's been a while since they've done one. A couple individual themes I'd like to draw your attention to are updated procedures for member districts withdrawing from the co-op. We don't suspect any will, but those procedures were quite antiquated. And also some procedures for member districts who have traditionally poor attendance at board director meetings and committees. So there's now a mechanism in place to essentially require member districts to participate. Otherwise, it's just a lot of updates to language and just getting the bylaws into the 21st century with regard to terminology in school code. So.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution ratifying proposed amendments to the SWCCC ASE Articles of Joint Agreement Amendment as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata,
Yes.
Casper,
Yes.
Dunlap,
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry.
Yes.
Nenza.
Yes. 8.8, approval of resolution authorizing final aggregate tax levy for the year 2022.
Yes, we talked about the preliminary levy last month, so this is the final levy. As you know, the tax levy is our primary source of funding, and generally, we are limited to the consumer price index each year. Last year, the consumer price index was something like 8%, 7 or 8%, but it's capped at 5%. So we're asking for 4.99. The county adds a little bit to it, so we'll get the full 5, but that is the resolution before you tonight.
Okay, is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing final aggregate tax levy for the year 2022. Is that right? By the Board of Education of Community Consolidated School District 146, Cook County, State of Illinois, as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion.
I'm sorry, one more thing to add. The state passed a law this year also that we have to disclose our cash balances at any budget hearing and levy hearing. And the law is a little unclear. We're not having an official levy hearing, but I just want to get it out there so that if, just in case. So, and they didn't say as of what date. So most business managers that I've been talking to are disclosing the June 30th audited numbers and then what we had at our most recent month end. So as of June 30th, our cash balance was $41,074,995. And as of October 31st, which is the most recent month that we have closed out here, it's $34,913,382. Just want to get that into the record.
Yep.
We have to do that every month?
No, just at budget hearings and levy hearings,
So that's twice a year?
twice a year.
Further discussion? Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes. 8.9, approval of resolution authorizing reduction of certain fund levels for the 2022 levy year.
Yes, this is a standard thing we do every year also. The amount that we levy, the county adds an additional 3% to it to account for lost cost, they call it, for those who don't pay. But we're still limited to 5%. So we have to, so essentially the levy will end up being 8%, our 5 plus the county's 3 additional. So we've levied too much. We have to tell them where to take the reduction. We're taking the reduction all from the education fund, because that's where most of the money is.
Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve the resolution authorizing the reduction of certain fund levies for the 2022 levy year as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Secretary, call the roll.
Shalata?
Yes.
Casper?
Yes.
Dunlap?
Yes.
Lloyd, yes. Barry?
Yes.
Nenza?
Yes. 9.1, information items.
Yes, thank you. So tonight is the first read of some suggested policy updates, most of them coming from press, a couple of them coming from ourselves. The policy committee met last week and reviewed each one in detail. I want to draw your attention, there's a good amount of updates to footnotes and definitions, which are just, again, keeping your policies modern and appropriately with the appropriate terminology. But I do want to draw your attention to a couple themes. There's a couple places in the policy where we're removing the term comprehensive or the words comprehensive health education. As you'll recall, the new Illinois K-8 comprehensive sex health, what's the word, Wendy?
Standards.
Standards, thank you, are required of any school district that has what they call a comprehensive health education program. We don't have such a program. However, because some of the policies are quite old, we use those terms. So we're removing those terms just as a protection for the district in case someone were to point at them and say, see, you're supposed to be doing comprehensive sex ed because you've got a comprehensive health education program. So it won't change our any of our offerings or our curriculum in any way. This just simply preserves the board's right to continue doing health education the way we always have and not adopt the new sex health standards. Also, just a couple enhancements. Employees can take sick time either as a full day or a half day and a quarter day. In the past, they've just been able to take personal time as a full or half day, which often results in them being out of the building for a half or whole day when a quarter of a day would do. And it's a nice courtesy to our employees to allow them to take that time in quarter days. It's also a win for us because of the limited availability of substitutes in this teacher shortage era. So we made that enhancement as well. And then there's two at the very bottom I'd like to draw your attention to, 5.242 and 5.160. Those are both outdated policies or they're covered elsewhere in policy. So we're recommending that they be removed from our manual. The entirety of all of these policy recommendations you can find in board docs, and if there are no questions or concerns, then at our regular January meeting, we'll consider that the second read, and I'll be asking you for their adoption.
Thank you. 10.1, communications correspondence. We have quite a few. We'll start with Dean.
I have a thank you card for the beautiful flowers from Judy Wartel's family.
One, Dr. Stawick and District 146 Board of Education. This note of thanks is a little late, but wow, what a surprise to win the wellness screening raffle. The Virgin Pulse program is such a fun way to focus on wellness and fitness. Thank you for your generosity and happy holidays. From Teresa Eskra.
Dear 146 School Board, thank you for the delicious pizza luncheon for American Education Week. It was delicious. Love the Fulton family.
Thank you for the delicious lunch and for all you do to support our district, the Ed Center staff. Thank you for the staff luncheon, memorial staff. Dear Board of Education, thank you for the fantastic pizza and salad lunch on Friday for American Education Week from your FIRC staff. Thank you so much for providing us with a delicious lunch. It really made our day, the FIRC staff. And dear District 146 Board of Education, Administration, and staff, thank you for your kindness and support on the death of my mother-in-law and for the beautiful peace lily plant that was sent for her memorial service in Savannah, Georgia. It was greatly appreciated. Vern.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to go into closed session, please?
I move we go into closed session for a labor matter and a personnel matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're in closed session. There will be no action following closed.
You gonna go home and memorize this now?